Yeah, so I kind of got into this. My family was farming in Central Texas in Hutto for the last 7 generations. And then when I was about 9 years old, we sold the family farm. And over the past 20 years, they've been turning that into houses and just really urban expansion. And it's kind of ominous when you drive out here. You know, that's not a unique situation. Just about everywhere you go in rural America, it's severely declining, and you have abandoned houses, and the next generation, once they take over, nobody really wants to farm. And so you'll go to Tractor Supply every other month and you'll see a sign for just a farm auction, and they'll just sell everything. And so ultimately, I think we're just trying to build a sustainable economy, one that's based in soil and sustainable practice. And industrial hemp kind of provides us a medium for going out and taking the fruits of that soil and those practices and then putting them into the modern economy. You know, it's kind of nice that we can kind of come in here with a new crop that we know has reduced inputs, pesticides and herbicides, and really start to kind of spread that seed, if you will, from where we're at. And so this little valley is about 7,000 acres, and we just have 40 acres right in the middle of it. But at the end 30 acres, we're doing no-till sesame, working with a really awesome farmer. And then we manage the 9 acres here, where we really do experiments and we get into our standard operating procedures and we try organic inputs, and then cover cropping and doing all kinds of cool things that way. But when you look at really the industrial ag landscape, about 80% of our crops come from 4 different cereals. And so a lot of people are always like, well, isn't hemp just another monoculture? But when you compare it to there being only 4 really primary crops in the world, hemp we know grows everywhere. It can not only feed you, but it can clothe you. And as we're going to discuss today, you can build with it. And so, you know, we add just hemp to the mix and we've increased the biodiversity by 20%. So that coupled with kind of our rotation and what we do in the off season is, you know, really critical to what we're after here. Yeah, so this is a fully legal crop. It's been licensed. We do inspections at the TDA, USDA. But the main difference is here, obviously this isn't marijuana, so this is industrial hemp. And we really designated at the beginning of the year for it being used for grain or fiber. So in the eyes of the government, I mean, this is going to feed humans, animals, and then fiber to wear. So none of this will be smoked, you know, none of it's for medicinal proper. Food is medicine, but, you know, there's no psychoactive attributes to these plants. And so a lot of them won't even put on flowers, you know, so I mean, most cannabis plants that you see obviously have these big, robust flowers on them. These have a much different physiology, so they grow tall and skinny. And so we're just after the stalks here. So that's really what we're after, is just the stalks. And, you know, we'll harvest it before a lot of these even go to flower. So there's really no opportunity for it to be used to be smoked or put into tinctures or anything like that. So, you know, we like it. It's a great economy. We do think that, you know, cannabis as a medicine is tremendous and it has a huge potential, but just for what we're doing and what we're after, it's, you know, more grain, protein, and then fiber for textiles and building. But yeah, so this is our hemp field, guys. So these are 2 research plots we got growing. We had 4 different plots going right here. Each one's about 30 feet wide by 100. And so we had 2 different varieties of hemp and then 2 different practices. So we did conventional on these 2, conventional fertilizer. There's been no herbicides or pesticides used on this property in about 10 years. But we did microbes, a little bit of manure on these 2 plots, and then conventional fertilizer over there with no microbes. And actually what we found was right out of the ground, we had nearly 100% germination here and here, maybe 20 to 30% generation on the conventional plots. And so when you add fertilizer, just normal nitrogen, all the plants like that. So if you don't have a good basis, then all the plants take off at the same time. But these microbes really have the ability to understand what seeds are there, how they're growing, and then actually builds a direct relationship between the 2 of them. And so, you know, you can see it for yourself, but this has been unirrigated. We've done, I think, 3 applications of the microbes, and then that's it. So there's a lot of terms for it, but the terpenes, the sticky icky, that kind of substance on the tops of plants, on the cannabis plants, are actually resistant to most insects. So we haven't seen any major effects from insects. I think a lot of times the grasshoppers will take over things because they don't have grass otherwise. And so I don't know if y'all saw when you came in, but we plant a border crop of sunflowers. And so that, you know, obviously is a great pollinator, but it also keeps a lot of the pests at bay when they're coming across from other fields. And so, you know, just also having just general biodiversity. I think a lot of the pest problems in our society come from the fact that we've monocultured things down to such a point where, you know, if one bug is present, then it's got a buffet without anything to impede it. And so here you've got, you know, you've got insects, but you also have birds that come through and they eat the insects, you know, and then there's just kind of that cascading effect that really keeps everything in symbiosis. Yeah, so as I mentioned, you know, we don't use any herbicides or pesticides, and I think this is kind of a good example of, you know, once you get a good stand and they grow up, there's really not even enough sunlight that gets down there to help any of the weeds grow. So, you know, it creates a little forest. And then if you come out here in the heat of the summer, I mean, up underneath here, even right now, it's about 15 to 20 degrees cooler. So it kind of creates its own environment. And, you know, in our vision, you know, we plant this over 10,000 acres in this region, and it's going to actually create its own weather systems, much like a forest would. And so we're excited to see how that goes, and, you know, certainly hang out under the hemp canopy. It's always nice. Yeah, so, you know, what we're doing here is taking a natural plant and building it into kind of a rigid human model. And that's how we profit, and that's how we can make sure that we continue to prosper. But as much as we take our human conscious and understanding of engineering and science and impose that on plants, you know, we're out here learning from this every day. And so what we do here at this facility at Laneport for E3 is really just learn from the land and learn from the plants that come up. And, you know, any given day you're coming out here and you're just hanging out and you'll see, you know, 10 different species of birds. The deers love it. You know, it's really remarkable to see if you just give nature a window, what will happen. And so I think that's really a big part of what we do, is just kind of allowing nature to do its thing. And a lot of times people try to overcomplicate things. And I see it all the time with people, especially in indoor cannabis grows, where they're trying to tinker and they're trying to get the exact right mixture to get things right, when in a lot of situations you really just need to give the plants the opportunity to do it, and they'll figure it out. I mean, they've been growing for obviously millions of years, and so just about every part of the world they figured it out, and this is no different. So it's a little bit hotter, you know, and sometimes it doesn't rain, but as you can tell, it hadn't stopped these guys. So yeah, we love in Texas to talk about the black gold, and that was often referred to the oil industry, but here we're talking about soil. And so this is our moneymaker right here. And I wish you could smell it, but, you know, this stuff is alive and well, retains moisture like you'd never even know. And, you know, it gets to black color from, obviously this is a grassland for millions of years, and then the recurring fires, and then you'd have the buffalo and bison come through here, and they would, you know, fertilize it, till it up a little bit. And so that's why we call this the Blackland Prairie. And one of the most productive regions on the world, and we're just happen to be in the middle of it. So again, if we can't do it here, deep in the heart of Texas, and I'm not sure we can do it anywhere, but I'd say we're well on our way to getting it done. So yeah, back in here, they're kind of shaded right now, but we have a couple beehives, courtesy of Mavian Farms and my good friend Crystal Beasley. But we're all about kind of really getting the pollinators worked up, and as you can see, these bees are pretty excited today. Something I've noticed is that wherever you have a beehive, actually, and I don't know if this is a cause or effect, but the plant distribution is different. And so like these kind of horsetails that we have really don't grow anywhere else, and I haven't seen them until like last week and noticed that they're growing right around the beehive, and they're an excellent pollinator. And so bees in their own way are kind of farmers of their environment, and so we're fortunate to have them. And we probably need to harvest that pretty soon, and we'll have hemp honey, Texas hemp honey, coming at you. So great. So y'all got to see the field after we grow these things with the net positive gain on the environment and the soil. We turn them into houses, and then we give people really a special place to live. And so this is a hempcrete outhouse. It was designed by BioBuild Architects. We've left it unfinished on the outside just to kind of give people a sense of really how this looks and how it kind of gets formed together. But it's as simple as basically chopped up hemp stalks, and then we mix it with this Micropause, which is an all-natural mineral catalyst, and then just add water. So it's 3 parts, no chemicals, it's all natural. It's really marine sediment is what it is. But yeah, as you can tell right here, so we did a double stud system. These are 12-inch thick walls. And we just did a cast and placed. So we basically just build form boards, put them in, mix it up, fill in the gaps, and then take the boards down pretty quickly. And so, it kind of gives this nice layered effect to it. And you can actually see on this one, we experimented with different mixes, so you can kind of see the differences. But, in all of them, they're, solid as all get out. Now you could come back and finish this with plaster, or you could just do a cladding like hardy board. We did metal, corrugated metal on the outside on the back. But yeah, so it cures, it takes probably a week or 2 to cure when you do a cast in place, but over its lifetime, it'll actually continue to absorb carbon dioxide. A lot of people ask like, well, isn't this the hemp, it's going to degrade, animals are going to eat it. Well, what happens actually when you mix it with the lime binder is that it turns into calcium carbonate. So we're essentially creating fossils. And so in a lot of ways, as long as this kind of gets protected, it'll be here longer than probably most every building that you see out there today, certainly being built with stick frame. And that's just on the outside. So we'll take a step inside and you really get a feel for kind of what the living environment is. This isn't a thermal camera, I'm not sure, but if you could feel or see it, this is about 20 degrees cooler than outside. And that is a result of a few things. One, we kind of have a passive air approach to it, but also these walls are mainly 12 inches thick, and so they really serve as like a battery. So at night they cool off and they conserve that cool, and then during the day they release that cool temperature. And so also, on a microscopic level, this is all filled with little tiny air pockets, and so you have virtually no bridging, thermal bridging. And so it could be 110 degrees on the backside, and then on the inside you're going to be really a constant like 75 degrees. And this one isn't fully enclosed, but if you ever get the chance or somebody and you can go into like a fully enclosed hemp house, it really gives the effect of being like a cave. And even on the hottest days of the year, it'll stay about a cool 75, 72 degrees. And then more than just the temperature, obviously the air gets cleaner. So this is just like a big air filter basically. So, when y'all are sitting around the table and your uncle is blowing hot air about climate change, that's all going to be absorbed into these walls. And so that's you know, just another key feature with this material. And then you have the moisture wicking ability. So it's a I forget the term, but it's, you know, basically it breathes, right? So like if it's moist outside, then it'll kind of translate that and slow it down, and if it's moist inside, it'll expand out. And so it always kind of keeps a stable humidity level inside the house. And again, you can finish this however you want. Again, we kept it empty just so you can get an idea, but you know, this could be plastered over, or you could just do like, you know, 80s wood planks or whatever you're feeling, drywall if you wanted to. Yeah, totally. So y'all kind of got to see a bit of the growing process, but you know, in our journey towards seed to shelter, you know, when we talk about that difference between agricultural and urban environments, I think the ability to literally grow our homes, or like we like to say, E3 grow home, but that thought of literally growing the material that we would then build with inherently combines those two efforts. And to do so, it goes through manufacturing and industrial processes. And so that's some of the things we get to do here. That's fun. So we use decortication. It's really just like a crushing and raking system, really quite basic. And then we have these thrashers that we use, these two units right here, that really do a lot of the finite work, and that is kind of separating out a lot of the weeds, a lot of the smaller and larger pieces, and giving us a consistent product. And so a lot of the machines we use are often 50 plus years old. You know, they have done a very good job in the past with using what was available, and you really can't get more efficient than some of these machines. And so after we crush it, rake it with the decortication, we run it through sifters or threshers that do kind of one more little breaking and then separate the fibers from the stalk. And then we package those things up. As you see here, we sell it in bulk. We also sell them into 33-pound bags. And those go for everything from hempcrete, animal bedding, 3D printing, plastics and composites, and yeah, just really the wide world of durable goods. And so we're excited to be there. That's our partner, Texas Hemp Processors. Follow us on Instagram. But yeah, we're excited for what's to come. So yeah, so you know, I got a great degree from a liberal arts university, and I loved it. But you know, I think a lot of times in the university setting, we like to demonize and find a scapegoat for reasons, and it was always the landowner or rural America and farmers that are kind of the vein. But really, once you get out here and you spend time with them, they know exactly what's happening. They just are in a situation where they have to feed 99% of the population, and there happen to be one. And in that same fact, you know, they manage most of the land, air, and water, and by and large, they do a really good job at it, just given their circumstances. And so, you know, it's really nice to be able to work with these guys and learn every day and really kind of align yourselves with nature. As although we are, you know, hungry humans that eat every day, I think it's hard for us to imagine the importance of agriculture. And if we can really start to build the things around us, wear the clothes that we built, that we grow, then maybe we can get towards a more, you know, sensible and natural way of living. Our mission here at E3 is really just to start with the family farm, make that profitable, and then build out from there, and really just build a more sustainable society based in our soil, sustainable practices, and you know, taking these plants and the fruits of our labor and really putting them into the built world around us. So thanks, reach out, follow us on Instagram, e3agriculture.com.
Hey, did you like this video? If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out other videos on the channel just like this one. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who make these videos possible, and special thanks to E3 Agriculture for having me out and letting me film this video. Thanks for watching.
state of mind.